Thank you for joining me today. And if you're new to the channel, then welcome to the family. Today, it is our intent to review Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 7. Be sure to make your voices heard by sounding off in the comments below. Let's get right to it.
Welcome to Fueled by Intentions, where we talk about faith, family, finances, fitness, and fun. Sponsored by Bynum's Business Solutions, where the right fit is made simple. We specialize in tips, tools, and strategies designed to help you achieve your financial health so that you can take control of how you spend your money so that you can spend more time with your family, friends, and doing the things you love. So let's jump right into the video.
Today, we have our special guest back again, John Solomon. John, how are you doing today?
I am doing well today, Everwani.
Are you ready for this discussion?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
This was a big one. So you know how we always get started. We always look at the title, and the title of this week's episode was, "This is my decision day." So what do you think? Do you think that the title was reminiscent of the episode?
It's just like last week, is reminiscent of the episode for one particular couple. But and I think that they basically do that because that's I guess that's the big issue. That's the most important one, you know, out of everything. So that's the highlight of all the couples. So I guess that's why they gave it that name.
I actually don't like the name this week because it only is reminiscent of one couple. And I thought that this one could have been Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire, because I felt that there was a lot of liars in this episode. JASMINA lied to Michael. Michael lied to JASMINA. OLAJAWON lied to us. Chris, he duped us the most with his decision. Everything that he said prior to this, I'm just now gonna call a lie. So I say either Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire, or the house, the foundation on the house is cracking. Because I feel like on all the couples, we saw the cracks in their foundation this week, where I don't even know. I don't even know if I have hope for anybody at this point. I'm hoping to, but I saw cracks in the foundation for everyone. Yeah, for every single couple. So I think it was a bad choice to focus just on Chris, because they could have called it Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire.
Yeah, and I would agree with that.
All right, well, let's jump right into the episode, and we will start off with Lindsey and Mark. So what do you think about Lindsey and Mark?
I think that she was forcing him to make decisions that he did not want to make because of the bed bug situation. And her fear was that whatever he kept could possibly have bed bugs that would come to her place if he's staying with her. So I know that she really didn't want him, you know, if she could just make the decision, she would have told him, just leave everything and we'll start off fresh. We'll buy everything new. But she couldn't do that. So she wanted to determine what things that he really value and considered, you know, sentimental, and said, okay, we'll bring that, but we want to take precautions. So anything else, she said, okay, let's put it in a black plastic bag and let's get rid of it.
Yeah, I think I agree with Mark that if you're going to help somebody, then you have to listen to them in terms of what type of help that they want or that they need. And I know I've been in situations where I've had to help people move out of their house or whatever. And you're not emotionally attached, so you can throw away anything really quickly because you're not attached to it. But the other person, they're really attached to it.
Pastor Cal did a good job on trying to get Mark to accept help, expressing when he needs help. And that doesn't mean that you're less of a man or anything like that. It means that, hey, you have a supportive spouse here, one that wants to help you, accept her help. And in terms of the house, in terms of Lindsey's house, It's very, very small. And I think that as a couple, when they move forward, they would want to get another place as quickly as possible that would accommodate both of them.
Yes, yes. I was really Lindsay. And I understand her point because she's frustrated because they're having tension between the two of them. But when she said, I don't even know what he said. I didn't even hear him. You know, like, come on,
Yes.
like, you got a counselor here. The person is trying to help you. And I understand when somebody is trying to tell you about a character flaw that you have, it's not as easy to take. But I didn't like that she was dismissive. But the thing about Lindsay is, and I believe it's because she's used to conflict, she bounces back really quickly. So even though she was very dismissive at the beginning of it, you know, she re-engaged and was like, yeah, I know I can be this way really quickly, but I think that that's because she just is used to dealing with conflict. And so she can maneuver within it very easily. Did you have any other comments about this couple?
Well, I just think that the way Mark looked at her response, and even the way Pastor Cal looked at her response, it seems like she was very dismissive, and she's looking at Mark and she's making a comparison between his situation and her situation. And she's saying, well, you shouldn't be talking to me. You should be talking to him. He's the one that had the bed bugs. He's the one that had a problem with these people calling him all during the night and stuff like that. I'm not the cause of this. That's him. So she basically puts the blame on Mark. So when Mark starts saying that, you know, there's a lot of things that he doesn't like about Lindsay. Lindsay said, look at all this stuff that I put up with you, and you're talking about me. So it's kind of like she was saying, it's like the pot calling the kettle black.
Yeah, but I really think that it's really Mark too, because I feel like he is being frustrated about Lindsay's character, but if in one sentence he'll say like, she's really nurturing and I've never had anybody to do me like that, and then he acts like she's taking over and he cannot be himself. He doesn't feel like he's being himself. But he just, like, even with the apartment, he just said, well, thank you. You know, I didn't like her putting things in the bag, but I just said, thank you. Well, don't say thank you. Say, you know what? Let's stop for a minute and see how we can do this differently. I feel like he needs to communicate more within the moment to let her know what adjustments she can make in order to help him. Because I agree with him. You have to help people in the manner that they want to be helped, because sometimes you feel like you're being very helpful and you're not being helpful at all. You're making it worse if you don't know what they need or what they want. But in order for somebody to know, you got to be able to speak to. So I feel like he is putting her character down, but he needs to take an active role in helping her understand who he is.
I think Mark sees Lindsay as being controlling, and he doesn't want to be controlled. And I think that's one of the things that he's fighting against. When she's making certain decisions or making certain comments, basically that would be toward his futures or things that he should do, he's saying, wait, this is about me. I'm going to make my own decision. I'm going to make my own plans. You know, I got my own, I'm going to speak my own mind in how I'm going to handle this situation. Okay, right now I think it would be best if you kind of just stayed out of it and allow me to make the decisions that I need to make. So I think Mark is not verbalizing it, but he's basically acting like, I need you to give me space to operate the way I like to operate. But he's not verbalizing it, so Lindsay doesn't know where to go. She's trying to help, or she sees herself as trying to help, but he's saying, no, the best way you can help is just give me space and let me work this out myself.
Yeah, and I do like that Mark wants to work out his problems, because some people will just hand them on over to you and go on about their business and be glad that you're dealing with it. But I think that it shows just him as a responsible person, that he does want to be responsible for his own issues and not put that on her. So I like that about him.
But that's not what the landlord said.
What did the landlord say? I don't remember.
The landlord said, you put these bed bugs on me and you left to get married. I don't call you the responsible. In fact, I'm looking at the eviction notice right now.
True. I agree with that. All right, so let's move on to OLAJAWON and KATINA. So what did you think about OLAJAWON and KATINA this week?
You know, when I look at OLAJAWON, I look at myself in that regard in terms of I wanted a woman as a wife that could cook. I mean, I wanted one that could cook. Like my mother could cook. But I realize even now, you know, I've been married 32 years and my wife can cook now, but she couldn't cook when we got married, you know, but she could cook now. And I think about, reflect back, you know, in my childhood and everything. My mother probably couldn't cook when she first got married, you know. It's just when you know, by the time I got of an age where I could recognize, you know, good food and stuff like that, she had learned and had some recipes that put me in the vein that she could always cook like that. So OLAJAWON, he's looking at the end of the process, at the beginning of the process, in terms of KATINA being that person that will be that super cook that he's looking at. And he has to understand this is a new relationship for her too. And she told him, she verbalized, no, I can cook a little bit, but I'm not that great. And he said, no, you got to be a great cook. You know, you're married to me. So he's pushing, you know, he has this fantasy. He had this fantasy in terms of what he wanted in his wife. And he wanted her to meet all those different areas. She's beautiful, boom. She's, you know, she's athletic. She has a nice body, boom, 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 boom. I want her to be a good cook, boom, boom. I want her to be a good mother. He wants her to wear all these different hats, okay, without knowing that it takes time to it takes time for a person to become that quote unquote ideal person that he's looking at.
Well, first, does she want to become that ideal person? Because it really interests me how people want to, I feel like that the wife cooking is kind of old school, but you want me to be old school in terms of cook, have the house clean, make meals for you every day, but you still want me to work, which to me, that is not how it was. You work, you bring home the bacon, then I can stay home all day and figure out a meal and look up a recipe and fry it up in a pan and have it ready for you. But I feel like that is very unfair when you expect me to work just as much as you do, and then I'm gonna come home from my job and you gonna come home from your job, but I'm the one, you get to prop your feet up and then, you know, I'm the one cooking. So I don't know how this is gonna work. I did see a little hope. It's so funny because he said, well, I used to just grab a PB&J and, you know, head off to work or whatever, but I can't do that no more. I'm thinking, yes, you can do that. But he did say in the conversation with Pastor Cal that he cooks breakfast for them. But it sounds like when he was talking to Pastor Cal, that he was at the point where he was willing to make a compromise, because he did say, no, I plan to share and I'll do some of it too. And I think that that's more balanced.
Well, I think that just like she pushed back when it came down to riding a horse, you know, she's pushing back in terms of cooking. KATINA has a way of getting her point across so that OLAJAWON understands, hey man, don't push any further, or you're about to, you know, you're about to go into the red zone and you don't want to go there.
Yeah, and they told Pastor Cal, well, OLAJAWON lied and said that it was his idea that they had not consummated their relationship because he was scared that if they didn't make it, he didn't want to go that route. And but KATINA, I say he lied because KATINA said on the after party that it was a mutual decision and it wasn't on him. So that's his lie. I felt like LINDSEY lied because on the after party, Mark said that LINDSEY lied last week and that they had not been having relations so many times a day, that they had only had it like 2.5. I don't know how you do the half. That was LINDSEY's lie, which is why I think the episode should be called Liar Liar, because all of them starting to lie now. But what did you think about that? I like that about a lot. I like that about OLAJAWON. I think you don't understand what Pastor Cal was saying. You can't think of in the what ifs, and then you can either do it or you don't. And if you don't, and it's mutual because you want to get to know each other, then that's better than not wanting to have it because you're afraid that the relationship is going to sever. But I think that that is, to me, as a female, a sign of respect. Like, I don't want to violate you like I've done all the other women that I've been with, just in the off chance that we don't know what's going to happen in 8 weeks. I saw it as a sign of respect for her.
I'm sorry. One thing I think is, I think that she was the one who put that flag up. I don't think that that actually came from him. I think she put that flag up there first. She knew his history. He told her about his history and stuff like that. And I think really, even though it's not been said, that I think KATINA was really the person that says to them, we're going to take this slow, and because I don't want to feel like when we have a relationship that I'm like one of those other women that you have before.
What did you think about the home visits?
I like a woman's touch when it comes down to a home, because a woman really does have an eye for certain things. When it came down to changing the granite, she's just saying off the top of her head, well, we could change this, we can change that. And OLAJAWON saying, do you know how much that costs? I mean, oh no, we're not doing that. Do you know how much that costs? So when you're coming up with certain suggestions and ideas, but you don't count the cost, I find that as a flaw.
Yes, I agree with KATINA that he's gonna have to allow her to make some adjustments if he wants them to live there and to feel like it's both of their homes. Mm-hmm. But I feel you have to decide on where you're gonna pick. So if she wants to make changes in the kitchen, because hey, that's where he wants her, so he should let her do anything besides the granite. I do agree that could be expensive, and because she doesn't own a home, she doesn't even know how much granite costs, so that could be a discussion, and I think she would understand that. But then, like about the gym, she doesn't even really care to work out, so I would let him have that. And he was so excited. He's just like, come look, come see what me and my brother did. We did this together. So he is really excited about that. And I think that when people are really, really excited about something, then you have to be careful in how you damper that joy that they have. But I feel like for the gym, she shouldn't even care. Let's go on to Noe and Steve.
When I think about Steve, I call him, okay, the track light guy. Okay, I see the Steve. Okay, he's the track light guy. And I see how he loves his track lighting. He would have to allow her to grow into that, because you could see the joy that he had when he was just showing that to her. One thing that I can say about Noe, the dog in the bed, absolutely not. But now, I'm your husband. And since I'm your husband, our bed is not compromised, okay? So in other words, that dog, you give him his space. He already had another dog bed. That's where he'll stay.
One thing that I thought about Noe on this episode is I thought that I just met Johnny's little sister. I'm like, is Noe Johnny's little sister?
Uh-huh.
Because I felt like I am getting ready to see, I don't want to say Johnny 2.0, because I don't think that she's going to be more over the top, but I felt like Johnny was very uncompromising and everything had to be his way. And I see that from Noe. She doesn't want the lights because she doesn't like them. She wants her dog to sleep in the bed because that's what she's used to. She wants 3 children. There's no compromise. I had 3 children in my family and it was perfect, and that was great. You got to have a traditional job. Working as a consultant is not going to work for me. So I really felt that there was a lot of I shall not be moved moments for Noe. And I just don't think that ever makes a really good marriage. You have to be able to compromise where both parties feel like they are getting their needs and their wants met in the relationship. And you can't have so many definites. And I think that she had some, and I think the dog is definitely a deal breaker for me, because I don't like animals. So that would have been a deal breaker for me. But then even when he says something that makes sense, like when they were talking about the kids, and
Yes.
he's like, well, what if we have, a kid and one of them have Down syndrome and that kid needs a little more care and attention? And her thing is, no, I want 3, and that's what I'm gonna have. And not only are you not thinking about your husband, but you're not even thinking about this scenario that would involve your kid. And I do not like that. I do not like that. And maybe that portion was a little personal to me, because for me, I was gonna have 4 kids. I wanted 2 sets of twins, 1 year apart. By the time I got married, my husband was okay with that. That's great. And then I couldn't even have kids. So, you make these plans, and you have, because you don't know what's going to happen. Some people, they have children and they almost lose their life. So what are you going to do? You're going to keep having them, even though you could possibly lose your life in childbearing. So I don't like Noy's stance on everything has to be her way.
Just her feelings in terms of being uncompromising, that has to be addressed early. And I think that Steve is the one that could do that, because all he has to do is put his foot down. If he would have just told her, okay, no dogs in the bed while I'm here. So you're going to have to make a choice. When it comes down to our bedroom, it's going to be the dog, it's going to be me, or the dog. You make your decision.
Interesting, because even on Steve Jobs' situation, which I know has been a big issue, but what I hear from Steve is that he is willing to work and make money. He just don't want to do it the traditional way. So I feel like she should wait and see how that turns out, because if he's making money and he's making an okay living, a lot of people who do consulting work, that's like having your own business. That's being your own entrepreneur. You got to go out, you got to hustle, you got to get clients or whatever, but you have a lot of flexibility because it's done on your time. And he mentioned that if he didn't know if he could really work on a traditional job again, because that will stifle his creativity, and that really means a lot. But I don't know. It sounds like he's working now. He's doing some kind of consulting work. And if he could make just as much money doing consulting work and creating his own little business, that's what a consultant is. Their own sole proprietor consulting firm, basically.
Yes.
And I think that there's risk in both of them. I understand the trauma from her childhood, but there is risk in having a job. He just got laid off from his job, being a systems engineer. So that's not going to bring you security either, because you can get laid off from a job. So I think that she is making mountains out of things that may become a problem. But I guess for me, I would just wait to see how it's kind of looking. And then I feel like Steve is reasonable, and he seems more willing to compromise on things and listen to the rationale of things, in my opinion, than she does.
Have faith in him. Build him up, You never know. You might build him up to the standpoint that he might decide that, I need to go get something more stable. But you got to say, okay, I'm going to support you. Just tell him, I'm going to support you in your efforts, because I know that you're taking our family. When you're making these decisions now, you're putting our family first. So since you're going to be putting our family first, I'm going to leave it in your hands. And I think that we're going to live a good life. Yes. And I think that type of encouragement will probably go a long way with Steve.
Agreed. So now we get to JASMINA and Michael. What do you think about this couple?
When I look at JASMINA is having problems with Michael, and her problems occurred in terms of him being trustworthy. And then the aggression was also a problem when you go back to the scene before, where he said that she interrupted him, and she did not. So Michael starts to show signs to me of a overbearing husband, which could end up being an abusive husband, because usually when you're in an abusive relationship, the person that's rendering the abuse doesn't see himself, as being an abuser, be it he or she. And I think that he has the tendency to be that type of person. So there's a little bit of fear about that relationship there because of the type of person that Michael is and all the therapy that it seems like he needs. I think Jasmina has a right to be very, very cautious. And then compound that with lies. Well, you didn't think that I should have. You didn't think to tell me because I didn't ask.
But she did ask. She said, "Have you ever lived with a female?" And he said, "No, I have not."
Yes, she did.
She asked him straight up. The issue that I see with Michael is that it's very, very scary in my opinion, because Michael lies without a cause. And there's some people who that is just what they do. They will lie over any little thing. And the reason why I say that is he knew that she would not be. Now, if he had told me he lived with a girl, I might have been upset about it because I'm like, what? What, did you have a relationship with her? Why would you live with a girl? Like, I might have had more questions than Jasmina, but she had already expressed that she lives with a guy. So she is not going to be the pot calling the kettle black. So she's not going to think she understands that type of dynamic, that type of relationship. And not only has she done it, she is in it right now. And they showed a clip where they were at their reception and she said, "Hey, you see that guy over there? That's my roommate." So he had a chance then. And then she asked him in the apartment, "Have you ever lived with a girl?" And then, he said no again. And then he tries to defend himself. So I think it's very scary when people lie without a cause. Like some people lie because they don't want to look bad, or, they think they might get in trouble. They don't want you to, think negatively of them. But when people lie for no apparent reason, just out of the blue, I think that is very scary territory. And then I don't know, he's going to get caught if he yells at her or whatever, because they have cameras in those apartments. We usually see a snippet or two because once the cameras leave, you probably forget because you don't see the big camera in front of you and you're just interacting in the household. So if he really does yell and stuff like that, he better make sure he does not do it at least in the living room, because I think that's where they set up the camera, or kind of like in the kitchen area too, because we did see the camera from Jose and Rachel. They were last year. So I don't know. I mean, I hope that we do get to see what it looks like instead of her just telling us, but because he seems so controlled when he's talking to when we see him, he seems controlled. So I can't even imagine of what it looks like when he's yelling and being aggressive.
And I think another thing is one thing to lie. It's another thing to go and defend the lie. So every time he was caught in a lie, he never admitted to it. He tried to rationalize the lie.
Interesting. So Jasmina lied too. So that's why I say on this episode, they are all liars. Because Jasmina lied too, because she was like, "I need to go take care of my dog and put him in doggy daycare." And then she admitted later on in the episode that part of the reason why she wanted to go do that is because she needed space. Even though he asked her, he said, "I don't think that when we need space or, and she's like, "That's not the reason. The reason is my dog." And I agree with him that you do not want to start that pattern where you're leaving the house every time you have a disagreement. That is not a good way to go. So she lied. I feel like, and I'm not defending her because a lie is a lie.
Right.
But I think that the difference in the two is that she lied. I feel like she had a reason to lie because I don't think she wanted to kind of hurt his feelings about it. And, just say, "Hey, I really need some space from you." Where I feel like he lied and he didn't even have a reason to lie, which is interesting because when she left, she said she needed to clear her mind to get in a better space. And I think in last week's episode, she says, as soon as we move past one issue, another issue comes up. And as soon as they move past that issue or whatever she was trying to de-stress from, she comes back. She goes to his house, and then the whole girl thing comes up again. So it is becoming one thing after another for that particular couple.
I like what Pastor Cal says. He didn't agree or disagree what he just says. Maybe you don't see it as being aggressive, but you may find yourself talking at her instead of talking to her, okay? And I thought Pastor Cal did a great job of explaining that to him so that he could work on it. And I think he said, at least on the after party, that it was really refreshing, and now that their communication is a lot better because of that conversation that he had with Pastor Cal. But yeah, I think that was good.
And I like when he told JASMINA, when he gets like this, then you need to let him know that you're not his enemy. He said, so that is the, and when you hear her say that, then you need to self-correct yourself. And I also like the advice that he told JASMINA, which is that she needs to be forgiving. Will she be able to forgive him so that they can start anew?
Michael needs to make some corrections. So, of course, forgiveness is always in order, but it shouldn't be compounding either. You know, that means that he's made some course corrections, so she really won't be put in that position often, okay? And right now it seems like it's coming to her often, so, and she needs to see some change.
So we're going to move on to our last couple, Chris and ALYSSA. So what is your comments about Chris and ALYSSA?
I think that Chris was trying to see if ALYSSA would change her ways and join him in the apartment to say, I'm going to try to make it work.
I didn't like any of the conversation with Pastor Cal. I felt like Chris, he is a liar, because last week he said, if you give me the 1%, then I'll give you 100. And he also said, we can go as slow as you want. I will, because I want this to be forever. He also said in that conversation that the fact that she wasn't giving him an answer, then that meant that for him, that he needed to continue to try, because that meant that there was still hope left. So I feel like now she is giving you a little hope, saying that she wants to try. And I feel like he should have gave the 100. For me, I feel like maybe ALYSSA would have continued being the same ALYSSA. We don't know, because he didn't give her an opportunity. But I think that there was a possibility of her being different than what we saw on her honeymoon, because she had a conversation with her mom. And I think that that is why she came, to make a different decision, and hopefully with the support of her mom, because her mom asked the right question. Look, what is it that you guys don't have in common? Like, what would you need in order to make this work? I think that this is a good guy. And, you know, of course, we didn't see the whole conversation. I did like she even got a little more out of ALYSSA about, like, what do you see the differences is? And ALYSSA was talking about how he posted on Instagram about defunding the police. Like, we've never really heard, that's the first real issue that I've heard her say that could be a conversation as to why I don't think that our lifestyles would be the same. Although he explained it in his conversation with his best friend who is a policeman, he explained it, you know, that they couldn't even have a conversation. But I really wish that Chris would have stuck to his word. Now, if the 1% turned out to be no percent or 50%, you can always, okay, I've done all I can now, and I'm going to cut my tie.
I disagree respectfully disagree. Here's what happened. In ALYSSA's case, ALYSSA went and she talked to her mom. So now she's basically get this renewed sense of, okay, I'm going to give it an opportunity. Well, guess what? Chris had opportunities to talk to his best friend, and he had opportunities to talk to his mom. And they both told him the same thing is, why are you hanging on to her? Why are you doing all of this? And he took all of that advice under consideration. And then I think what compounded the situation is when he was in the apartment with Dr. Cal and ALYSSA, he listened to ALYSSA's excuses in terms of why he wasn't compatible, why she wasn't compatible to him, or some of the things that he has a dog, and wait, you have a dog? Well, I'm allergic to dog hairs. You didn't know I was allergic to dog hairs? Now, if you would have looked at Pastor Cal's eyes when she said that, he rolled his eyes, Chris rolled his eyes, it was another excuse, and he just frankly got tired of all the lies. I think he frankly got tired of all the lies, and he said, you know what, I'm through with this. I see that you don't want this relationship, and I've been hanging on, and I'm not playing your games anymore. So this is decision day for me, and I'm making a decision. I'm ending this, and I applaud Chris for doing so. At first, he said, he's not a quitter, and he felt that he could possibly turn the tides. But then after a while, he says, she doesn't speak to me on the phone. She doesn't talk to me off camera. She doesn't sit by me on the. You know what? This woman doesn't want to be with me. Okay, let me end this.
The only thing in that conversation where I could kind of give Chris a little out was when Pastor Cal asked her, well, do you see anything good in Chris? Like, do you see anything positive about him? And when she was like, no. Like, you cannot say that you don't see anything positive about him. Like, he got a stable job. Like, you can find something nice to say. So that could have been a little disheartening when she said that. And I think possibly too, in that conversation with Pastor Cal, when she continues to call him, he rude and disrespectful. And I wish he would have addressed that, which I don't feel like he ever does. And say, no, I'm not, or, prove your point. But I still believe that he should have hung in there. It's only been 7 days. She finally was given the 1%. Now you have Pastor Cal and all the other experts who can come in and kind of help you. So I still think that he should have stuck by his word and gave the 100, because now she was given 1. But I can see from a human perspective how he might have felt like, even in this conversation, she's still not changing her opinion of me, because it's hard to deal with someone who has a negative opinion of you.
Well, I was thinking, like you were saying, the 1%. I was thinking, was it a sincere 1% or was it a smokescreen?
We'll never know.
Well, no. ALYSSA always, when she's in the public eye or anything like that, she's always trying to put her best face forward. Even though she doesn't mean it. Behind the camera, she could be talking behind your back. But when I'm on screen, I'm going to be like this. Well, I think Chris, basically, he knew the way she operated. I feel that he felt that she truly didn't want to be in a relationship. And he was always trying to get her to say it, but to say why, but she wouldn't say it, because all she would use is the excuse that I'm still here. That was her excuse, but he could never get her to say it. So he just got tired of her always showing it, but not saying it, okay? So he just got tired. He said, you know what? I know you don't want to be in this relationship. I know that you don't want to say it. You want me to be the one to say it because you think that makes me the bad guy. No problem. I'm going to say it. I want a divorce. And he did it. I applaud him for it. He stuck there. He stuck in that relationship a lot longer than most men would have. I applaud the young man for it without blowing up.
All right, well, that ends our couple review. Do you think that any of them will survive?
Right now, I would say the best couple to me that has a chance of surviving is KATINA and OLAJAWON.
Who would think that they would be the standout couple? I definitely agree. So family, we definitely want to hear what you think as well. So please, please, please shout out in the comments below. Let us know what you thought about the episode. Let us know what you thought about the title. Let us know, do you think that Chris gave it all he could and you're glad he tapped out, or if you thought he should have hung in a little bit longer? Make sure your opinion counts by shouting out in the comment section below. Now we will move on to Fuel You Can Use, which is our spiritual truth, which will help you through the rest of the week. And it comes from Pastor Cal, because he told JASMINA that she needed to forgive Michael in order for them to move forward. So this comes from Matthew 18, verses 21 and 22. It says, "Then Peter came to him and asked, 'Lord, how often should I forgive someone who sins against me? 7 times? No, not 7 times, Jesus replied, but 70 times 7. And I think that we all can learn a little bit about forgiveness. I think that Chris, whether he stays with ALYSSA or not, is that he needs to forgive, because she was mean, nasty. She said very rude things, especially after he sees the episode. And he needs to forgive, as well as JASMINA. She's going to need to forgive Michael so that she can wipe the slate clean and move on. LINDSEY and Mark, they're going to need to forgive one another in order to reconcile, kind of start anew and journey onto a new path. And we too can forgive one another. And the thing is that God has forgiven us for our sins. So no matter what other people do to us here on earth, we can always find room to forgive. And the thing about forgiveness is, forgiveness doesn't mean that you have to continue in a buddy-buddy relationship. You may forgive and have to set some boundaries for that relationship to move forward in a different way, because forgiveness is more about you and not the person that you are forgiving. So our fuel for the week is go out there, love everyone, and find a heart of forgiveness. John, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. We just love it when you can come and share with us. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. And remember, live with intention. Be intentional.